So good morning. Welcome. I'm Jeff Clark, member of the Board of Trustees. I use he, him pronouns, and welcome to you old friends, new, young, and old in the Zoom in the sanctuary. You're an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, learning, all loved, just as you are. You are welcome here. Thank you.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Robin Livingston. I use they, them pronouns, and I messed up today's order of service. Apparently, I have an order of service autopilot, which I learned this week. So we will have written joys and sorrows after the meditation, during our meditation hymn, which is a little bit different. So go with the flow and not what I wrote down earlier this week. Today we have the privilege of hearing from Alex Kapitan, a queer and trans UU leader with a message on embodying radical welcome. I invite you to say the chalice lighting words with me. We light this flame to invite a world of peace, where we heal the wounds, where we share what we have with one another, where justice is another word for relationship, and we listen for what love has to say.
Hello. Good morning. That was gorgeous, choir. Thank you so much for that. I already feel like my heart is full. And that was a really lovely chalice lighting, too. So, I'm feeling great. So happy to be here. Like Robin said, my name is Alex Kapitan. My pronouns are Z and per, which is short for person. And I am a lay community minister. I have a call to help congregations around the country become more radically welcoming spaces for people of all sexualities, genders, ages, disabilities, and abilities, and lots of other things too. Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, is there anybody here online or in person who is here for the first time, or maybe the second time, or maybe the third time? Yay! Sorry, I'm an extrovert. I didn't mean to extrovert all over you, but this is my first time here too, so I'm just excited that I'm not the only one. I'm glad you're here. And if there's anybody else online who's also relatively new, I'm so glad you're here too. I want to invite you all to just join me for a second in taking a breath together. Let's breathe in and out. Let's do it again. Breathe in and out. Let's find our way to arrive here, whether you're joining us virtually, whether you're here in person. Arrive as fully as possible in this space, calming your nervous system, checking in with what's going on inside of you, asking your mind to let go of all of those tumbling thoughts, allowing our hearts to fully be here. Our hearts are carrying so much, right? There's joy in this gorgeous, beautiful day outside. There's pain in a world that's filled with so much heartbreak right now, so much war in places where our country is deeply involved. There's fear in what tomorrow might bring in this political moment that we find ourselves in. There's awareness of milestones and anniversaries and, oh my gosh, it's Father's Day, right? Which is beautiful and hard and complicated and messy. I want you to bring all of it. All of it belongs here. All of what you're bringing belongs. All of who you are belongs. Let's breathe together again. One more time. In. Can you feel it? Can you feel all the other hearts that are also bringing so much? Let's hold together all that all of us are bringing. Sharing in the good, the hard, the mess, and the joy. None of us is carrying any of this alone. Together, we can hold it. Let us worship together. And let's sing. I think we're singing, There's a River Flowing in Our Soul. Building Bridges. Wrong hymn. This one's great. This is better for right now. So 1023 in the teal hymnal, Building Bridges. Thanks.
All our voices and all of our
All right. So I have a story for you all today. Do you like stories? Some of you? Okay. Well, if you particularly like stories and want to come up here and hang out with me for this one, I would be excited about that, if you would be excited about that. I have some friends who are going to be here. So if you want to be able to see the props, which I recommend, make sure you can see this part. Yeah. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Okay, this story is a story that I wrote, and it's called The Story of Bat. How many people like bats? You like bats? How many people do not like bats? How many own it? How many people are just not so you're mixed? It's okay. It's not a binary. You can like and not like. Yes. Yay. That's great. I happen to really like bats, but I totally understand that, oops, some people have different feelings. You got a sneak peek at my props. Okay, so once upon a time, there was, a long time ago, in a faraway land, a terrible fight. And this terrible fight was a fight between the mammals and the birds. Now, as you probably know, mammals are all the animals that are furry, right? And have sharp teeth, or just teeth in general, I guess, and carry their babies inside of them until they're born. And then birds are all the animals who can fly and have beaks or bills and fluffy feathers, right? Oversimplification, but Also, they lay eggs. That's important, right? You see, the mammals didn't trust the birds, and the birds didn't trust the mammals. They were just so different from each other that they didn't understand each other. The mammals didn't know what it was like to be covered in fluffy feathers and see the world from way up above. And the birds didn't know what it was like to be covered in fur instead of fluffy feathers. So the birds and the mammals started to fight. But there was one animal who didn't understand the fighting. Can you guess who? Yeah, bat. You're right. It's like I don't even need to tell the story. You totally know where I'm going with this. No, it's great. I'm so happy about this. We're on the same page. So, because, my friend, I don't know your name. What's your name? Adar. Did I say that right? Because a little bit of both, right? So can you imagine how Bat felt when the mammals and the birds were fighting each other? It was really hard because Bat felt like she was a little bit of both. That's right. Yeah, what team to be on, exactly. Because she had friends with both the mammals and the birds. And, bats are furry, right? And they don't have feathers. That's exactly right. They also have wings, but they don't have feathers. It's skin. It's skin on the wings, right? And fur on the body. Bats are amazing, right? Even if we don't like them, we can agree that bats are amazing, I hope. So Bat happened to be friends with both mammals and birds because she would go flying with her bird friends and she would snuggle with her furry mammal friends. Hi! So when the fight broke out, she was really, really sad. She went to both the mammals and the birds and begged them to stop the violence. "Don't you see?" she said to the other animals. "You're not all that different from each other. We all feel love and hunger and pain. Look at me," she said. "I can fly, yet I'm also furry. I'm proof that there's no real divide between mammal and bird." But the other animals wouldn't listen. They had been told all their lives that birds and mammals were at odds with each other and had nothing in common. They had been taught to fear one another. "Pick a side and stay there," Tiger said at the mammals' camp. Where's my other one? Stop pretending to be something you're not. What are you really? Eagle screeched the next day at the birds' camp. "I'm both and neither," Bat said. But that was inconceivable to the other animals. Even her bird and mammal friends laughed in Bat's face, pushed her aside, and kept on fighting each other. Well, at first, Bat was too sad to do anything more. But then she realized there were other animals like her, animals who were different from birds and mammals. Who do you think she went and found? Any guesses? Fish is good. That's a good guess. I know. There's so many other animal kingdoms. I'm so sorry. Platypus. Yes, platypus is amazing. Platypus has a bill and lays eggs like a bird, but has no wings and is furry like a mammal. Bat also found... It's both too, exactly. Bat also found flying squirrel. Yes, yes. Who is not a bird, but does fly through the air or glide. Also has skin and fur instead of feathers. You're so right. And look how cute it is. It's really, really cute. Anyway, so bat, platypus, and flying squirrel went and found ostrich and penguin and kiwi, who are all birds that can't fly. So they weren't part of the fighting. They didn't meet the requirements for the fight, apparently. Now, there were more animals. Where did bat go? Now there were more animals. Ha! Look at them all. So many animals who could help the mammals and the birds understand each other and understand that not all birds are the same. They're all animals that don't quite fit with what people think of as how birds are and how mammals are, right? They're all both or neither or complicated. Yeah, absolutely. So not all birds are the same, not all mammals are the same, and they really felt like they should stop fighting and get to know each other better. It was hard, but the other animals finally listened and stopped fighting. They started realizing how amazing it was that there were so many differences among them, that birds can be as small as tiny hummingbird or as massive as albatross. This is not to scale. Sorry, albatross is like this big. It's amazing, right? They're so small and so big. I don't know, maybe you're right. I think ostrich is probably a bigger egg. But there's a lot of really big eggs and really small eggs, right? And mammals can have, this one's tough, tusks like elephant. I didn't want to draw a whole elephant, so I've just got the tusks hanging out here. And, or as fluffy and soft as bunny. And there were other ways that some birds and mammals were more similar to each other than to their own kind. Owl and hedgehog discovered they both like staying awake at night. And loon and otter realized they both loved water. Eventually, everyone forgot that it had been Bat, who was the bravest one of all and had stopped the fighting. And that was just fine with Bat. What mattered to her was that all the animals were at peace and that she'd made a whole bunch of new friends, like her, who were different in the coolest ways. The end. Now I get to be up here. Yay! Oh, thanks again for welcoming me into your sanctuary this morning, friends. It truly is so wonderful to be together. Did you like my story? Yay! So I've been a Unitarian Universalist for 34 years now. ever since my parents joined a UU church outside Milwaukee when I was 6. My dad is the son and grandson of Presbyterian ministers, and my mom was raised a devout atheist in small town Wisconsin. The family joke is that when they became UU, my dad's whole family said, "Oh no, he's lost religion." And my mom's family said, "Oh no, she's found religion." Which I think says it all, right? About this quirky faith of ours. I'm so grateful that my parents joined my home church. It was a wonderful place to grow up. I was taught to honor my own truth. I came to believe that living our faith meant working to make the world a better place and fighting oppression. And as a queer and trans person, I was able to grow up without any sense that these deep truths about me were at odds with my faith, which was an enormous blessing. In fact, I credit being raised UU to a large degree with my ability to be the person I am today. My full, authentic, queer, gender fluid, flamboyantly masculine and feminine all at one time, neither here nor there, Mary Martinez, Peter Pan, bow tie flashing, motorcycle riding, roller derby playing, fen boy self. And yet, even though I was raised here in Unitarian Universalism, even though this religion has given me so much, I have never found a church home. You see, not actively making it harder for me to be myself in the world was not enough for me to feel a sense of unconditional welcome and belonging as I grew into adulthood. Nor have I felt that way in any of the dozens of UU churches I've been to since. I've never felt like any of them were places where I could be my whole self and fully get my spiritual needs met. Why? Well, before I answer that question, I want to talk to you a little bit about welcome and what it means to be a welcoming congregation. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Welcoming Congregation Program is a UU program that congregations can go through to intentionally increase their welcome and inclusion of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer people. This church was first recognized as a welcoming congregation exactly 23 years ago in June 2001, which is awesome. Is there anyone here today who was there then and remembers that, was part of it? Yes! Thank you. Can we give them a round of applause, those folks? Thank you. That's awesome. It's such a big deal. But I want to let you in on a little secret. It shouldn't be a secret. But when folks first go through this program, when churches first went through the program, they often focused on, I'm not saying you all did this necessarily, but this is a thing that I have learned from being in charge of this program for a while when I worked at the national office. They often focused on those people. You hear me? They talked about welcome as if it's something we need to do for them, yeah? But here's the secret that shouldn't be a secret. Being a welcoming congregation isn't about them. It's about us, right? It's about what our definition of us is. It's about what we're willing to do to expand that definition. The program was started in 1990 because of a shocking recognition that our denomination's values around welcome weren't being practiced when it came to gay, lesbian, and bisexual people. Attitudes, assumptions, and beliefs that were just ingrained in our larger culture were unconsciously mirrored in our congregations. We didn't think that LGBT people were really a part of us. Non-straight people were them. We learned that real welcome takes hard work. It takes actively fighting the messages we are taught by our larger culture about what and who is normal and right and most valuable. And it also takes transforming the idea that we are straight, that heterosexuality is the default for our community. Back in the 80s, we thought of ourselves as one of the good religions, right? One of the ones that didn't condemn gay people. After all, we've been ordaining LGBT people for years and had even passed a resolution supporting same-sex services of union at our denominational level. Gay, lesbian, and bi people were welcome in our congregations. But as a collective whole, most UUs still had an expectation that their kids would grow up to be straight, that their minister would be straight. LGBT people weren't bad and wrong, but they were still them, not us. You see, the transformation that we were invited into wasn't from gay people are bad to gay people are not bad. It was from gay people are them to gay people are us. It was from we welcome gay people to we are people of all sexual orientations. Can you feel the difference? At its best, being a welcoming congregation invites us to practice redefining our definition of who we are, who we consider to be one of us. It offers us the chance to see this practice as part of our purpose as a faith community, growing our understanding of us wider and wider until eventually every living thing is us, and there's no longer any such thing as them. Can you imagine that? It's hard. My friends, I can't find a church because I've never found a UU congregation where I felt like I was fully part of the us. I've never found a UU church where I felt like all of who I am can shine, where my spirit can be fully fed, where my gifts can be truly received. And unfortunately, I'm not alone. Despite more than 3 decades of the Welcoming Congregation program, which was expanded in 1999 to explicitly include trans people, according to a recent denomination-wide survey, 72% of trans UUs don't feel fully included in our congregations. 72%. This isn't because the average UU congregation is actively hateful or unfriendly to trans people, but there's more to welcome than friendliness, right? The truth is, the entire 3 decades that I've been a UU, Unitarian Universalism has told the world and has told me that LGBTQ people are welcome here. But that entire time, I've experienced that welcome as conditional. My whole life, I've known that I could attend any UU congregation and not be actively rejected, as long as I wore certain clothes and said certain things and acted in a certain way. I've known that I could be openly queer and trans, and as long as I didn't get too demanding about my basic needs around things like pronouns and bathrooms. I've known that because I'm white and college educated and non-disabled, I can appear to fit in a way that many of my people can't. I've known that because of this, people would be friendly to me. But that's not the welcome I need. I need a welcome that isn't conditional. I need a welcome that goes beyond friendliness, goes beyond tolerance or acceptance. I need a welcome that's celebratory, a welcome that transforms hearts, yours and mine. And my friends, my heart is heavy because I don't just want to find a home myself. That's not why I go around the country doing this work and preaching this message. I want Unitarian Universalism to be the saving power in my people's lives that I know it can be. I want to be able to tell Black trans women and LGBTQ asylum seekers and struggling non-binary youth that they can go to their local UU congregation and find healing and strength and resilience to keep up the fight in a culture that is trying to annihilate them. But I can't, because I can't trust that their local congregation will even be safe for them, much less a place of resilience. The worst part is how much my people need this right now. We are living in a truly terrifying, life-threatening time for trans people. Conservative political actors have decided that trans people are their elections-winning wedge issue of the moment, led by a far-right fringe that speaks openly about their goal to eradicate transness. 5 years ago, in 2019, there were 20 anti-trans bills proposed in state legislatures nationwide. Last year, there were almost 600 in almost every U.S. state. This year, there have been 600 more. Half the states in our country have now banned best practice medical care for trans youth and have banned trans youth from participating in sports, among scores of other new laws. Trans people now meet the UN's criteria for internally displaced refugees. I need to know that the religion that has told me and the rest of the world that LGBTQ people belong here I need to know that my religion has our backs and will do the work that it takes to become places of belonging for us in this moment. And yet, I constantly hear from trans and non-binary UUs that they feel the opposite of belonging, that they have to steel themselves in UU spaces for invasive questions or intolerant or ignorant comments or resistance to the things they need in order to feel seen and whole. Back in the 80s, UUs believed that simply being friendly to gay people was enough. Not all UUs, but many UUs believed this. But it wasn't, right? Straight UUs needed to do the work to unlearn all the things that made them think of gay UUs as the other, as abnormal. They needed to do the work to challenge in themselves and each other the messages they had received about gay people from mainstream media, that gay people are a threat to children, that all gay people have AIDS, that being gay is a curse to be ashamed of and hide, that gay people shouldn't flaunt their sexuality. Remember? It's been 40 years, but those same messages are on the rise again. They're just primarily targeting trans people now. What do you believe about gender? Do you think there are only two sexes? Do you think that men are naturally more aggressive and women are naturally more nurturing? How do you feel when you see someone whose gender is unclear to you? What were you taught about the proper ways for men and women to behave? What have you heard about trans women playing sports and healthcare for trans children and youth? How do you feel about pronouns? It makes sense that a lot of people have questions and assumptions about these things. How could we not? These are the pressing questions that we have to actively engage with if we're serious about welcome. Trans people challenge the social contracts we all inherited, the rules we were taught, the things that fall into the "that's just the way things are" category, just like gay, lesbian, and bi people did 40 years ago. The truth is, queer people still challenge those things too. Remember how I talked about how the conditional welcome that I've experienced in Unitarian Universalism? A welcome that feels dependent on things like how I dress, how I talk, how I act. A welcome that's related to things like race and class and ability. The truth is, the Welcoming Congregation program helped a lot of people widen the circle of belonging and their definition of us a little bit. Yeah? To include gay people like us. That is, gay people who looked and dressed and acted a certain way. But the more ways people don't line up with the assumptions and expectations about who we are, the harder it is for us to feel like we belong. If you're gay and white and have a PhD and a house in a monogamous relationship, it's a lot easier to feel welcome in most UU spaces than if you're bisexual and Middle Eastern and have a GED and rent a room and practice consensual non-monogamy, right? This is why my best friend, Reverend Michael Slack, and I created the program that this congregation is planning to engage with in the fall, if you can imagine that far in the future. It's called Trans Inclusion in Congregations, but it's about so much more than trans inclusion. For years, as trans UU leaders, Michael and I were asked to come teach UU churches about trans people. People wanted to understand all the vocabulary. They wanted to learn what the right things to say were. They wanted to feel a sense of mastery over this new, unfamiliar terrain. And we got tired because although as educators we love helping people understand things, going around doing Trans 101 trainings wasn't changing the things that kept us from finding a UU home. It was helping a lot of people feel like they intellectually understood trans people, but they still joyously sang songs about brothers and sisters and continued to misgender every single youth who came out as trans or non-binary in their congregation and didn't make any changes to their women's group or their annual men's retreat. Their welcome was still conditional on trans UUs looking a certain way, speaking a certain way, acting a certain way, and honestly, being willing to betray parts of ourselves in order to fit in. So we created a program that helps people really engage with the depth of what's required if we're serious about welcome. It takes you on a journey, starting with the theological grounding for welcome, our denomination and this congregation's gender history, and your own experience of gender. We offer frameworks for how to understand gender and sexuality, talk about the lived experiences of trans people of many different races, abilities, classes, ages, and sexualities, and we talk about trans spirituality, which is awesome. The program ends with a conversation about culture, about the difference between understanding welcome as superficial friendliness and understanding welcome as a spiritual practice that transforms your heart, and about how to shift the culture of this congregation to be radically welcoming to all who are currently here and all who want to be here. I want everyone who needs Unitarian Universalism to be able to feel a sense of home here. Do you? Some of you? Yes. I want all of us, no matter who we are, no matter what experiences and identities we carry that the world has shamed us for or taught us are wrong or unwelcome, I want all of us to be able to feel a sense of home here. I want all of us to be able to come to church without having to brace ourselves for the pain of people denying or resisting or ignoring or downplaying our needs. I want us to feel like we can bring all of who we are forward and be celebrated for doing so. Do you want this too? I wouldn't be here if I didn't know that you did. I don't go to every church, y'all. I don't say yes to every invitation. I wouldn't be here if I didn't know that I'm not the only one here who is yearning to experience radical welcome, a welcome that is not conditional. I know I'm not the only one here who has felt the need to leave certain parts of myself behind, who has felt pressured to look or talk or act in ways that make me appear to fit in order to feel a sense of belonging here. I know I'm not the only one here who knows that in order to survive this world, this dominant US culture of division and intolerance and violence and environmental destruction, we need spaces like this one to be more than simply friendly, right? We need spaces like this one to be places where we can unlearn the judgments and assumptions and biases that have soaked into us from the wider society and practice healing the divisions that are tearing our communities and our world and our very souls apart. We need spaces like this one to constantly redefine our definition of us, drawing an ever-widening circle across lines of gender, sexuality, race, class, disability, neurotype, age, language, nationality, substance use, mental health, family structure, belief, and more, so that none of us ever feel like we have to leave any parts of ourselves behind in order to feel like we belong. What do you think? Are you in? Yay! Whew! Like I said before, I wouldn't be here if I didn't know that you were already on this path, that the good people of this congregation have drawn the circle wider again and again over the years and are eager to draw it wider still. I know this is a space that has the potential to be radically welcoming. So if you're eager and willing and want to gain some new tools and skills for being radically welcoming, I hope you'll consider taking that course I mentioned, that program, this fall. I also hope that in the meanwhile, you'll ponder both the ways you are longing for greater welcome for yourself and your loved ones here, and also the ways you personally need help to widen the circle of who we are here in your own heart and mind. Being a welcoming congregation is not a static identity, any more than being an ally is. It's not a sign you can put up, or a box you can check, or a statement you can make. Because being a welcoming congregation isn't something you are. It's something you do. Because welcome is a verb. It's an action. It's a spiritual practice, one that never ends. So, I hope I can count on you to join me in this spiritual practice of radical welcome, because it is truly one of the most holy, heart-transforming, and world-changing things that we can do together. Amen. Ashe. Aho. And blessed be. words. It's great. I always tell people, don't make me do something after the sermon. It's okay. Okay, great. Here it is. So, how are you feeling? Did I throw too much at you? Okay, a couple of you are okay. That's good. I do want to give us a chance to just let that sink in and be present with what is in our hearts now. I asked you to pay attention to what was going on in your body at the beginning of service today. So take a moment to check back in. How's your heart? How's your jaw? How are your shoulders? Can you feel your toes? Are they still there? Take a deep breath in and out. And again, in and out. Feel what is connecting you to the earth, your seat, your feet. Feel that energy that goes all the way down, intertwining with mycelial networks and roots and magma. Feel all those connections alive in the air between us, that ether, the electrical signals through the Zoom, right? We are all connected. I want to invite us into a time of quiet in the spirit of prayer or meditation in whatever way feels right to you with these words from Reverend Bill Sinkford. After the reading, we'll enter a time of silence, which will be broken by our responsive hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life and love, dear God of all nations, there is so much work to do. We have only begun to imagine justice and mercy. Help us hold fast to our vision of what can be. May we see the hope in our history and find the courage and the voice to work for that constant rebirth of freedom and justice. That is our dream. Amen. Ooh, more words. Okay. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay, great. Our benediction this morning comes from the wonderful Reverend Dr. Mark Bellatini, who was one of the very first openly gay UU ministers in our movement. For religion to be significant, it has to provide more than the comforts of community. It has to also provide opportunities for deepening, for spiritual growth. It has to help us cast down the false images of stereotypes which hurt us all. A good religion has to open us to the real diversity of our modern world. For our work as liberal religious people is not to be competitive with others and to find ways to supersede others, but rather to find ways to supersede ourselves, to grow beyond our limitations and our constrictive boundaries, each and every one of us. Diversity, you see, must not end up being some sort of feel-good slogan, a word we keep in our back pocket to make us feel like we're broad-minded. Diversity is a gift, but it cannot be a gift unless it is received. It is only received when there are hands and hearts open enough to receive it. And the opening of fists into welcoming hands and welcoming hearts is our spiritual work. Go in peace, go in love. I hope we all are here together again soon.
That was a wonderful sermon.